Jason, have you renewed your passport lately? Like in the last 3 or 4 years?
No, mine expires in 2027.
Okay.
So I'll ride that boat as long as I can.
Yeah, mine expired soonish, so I just had to get a new one, and I got it, and they've totally changed the picture page of the passport.
Oh, okay, so one of the most annoying things about the passport for me is that the picture page was not the first page. Have they changed that?
The picture page is the first page, and it always was the first page.
No, when you open the main flap of the passport, you then have to flip one additional page.
Oh, no, they have not fixed that, if that's what you're worried about.
Okay.
But the page with the picture on it now is made of hard plastic, like driver's license plastic.
Oh, so it's easy to find. What?
It's super easy to find.
Is that a security feature?
Yeah, I assume so. I mean, they have so many little security things on this thing. Like when you hold it up to the light, it's etched in the plastic are different shapes. Like there's Mount Rushmore is like etched in the thing, and there's little eagles flying and stars and some sort of watermarky seal thing over your picture, and it's next level as far as extra stuff on it compared to the previous picture page. They also have your picture in color. So it's black and white on the picture page, which I think is more international, what they do. But then there's also your picture in color on the signature page, opposite the picture page.
Oh, okay.
And then that one, they put a watermark of your own name on your face, which is kind of weird.
Does the plastic make it the whole thing thicker? Is the whole passport book thicker now?
I've got the old and the new next to me. They are the same thickness, but they are not as compliant. The new one is harder to bend.
Well, sure, it's also new.
Yeah, but the picture page it's like a giant driver's license. It's hard plastic, stiff plastic.
Wow. And are you worried at all about it breaking or snapping?
No, I don't think it's going to snap unless you were to really fold it in half. I think it's generally pretty flexible. I don't know. Now I'm going to break it while I'm playing with it here, but it seems okay.
Now it's going to break. No. Interesting. I mean, I'll have one probably next year sometime because of the whole it expires before it actually expires shenanigans.
Right. Yes. Super annoying. Well, you have something to look forward to because it's I don't know. I always like these kind of security features and ways that people devise to make it harder to counterfeit documents and things. I just think it's cool, the level of creativity that goes into that.
How intricate is your driver's license? Because Ohio, so they've done the whole driver's license are way more. You can get the new
Real ID or whatever
TSA super approved, Real ID ones. Are yours like that? Because the Ohio ones have changed kind of significantly in the last 5 to 7 years.
No, I think ours have always been kind of the same. They didn't really change much. They've been Real ID for a long time though, so they didn't have to do much. But speaking of cards, I got a passport card also as part of this, just because I could.
Just cause, yeah.
You check the box and you pay an extra $10 and you get a passport card, and that's a kind of fun little curio of a weird government issued photo ID thing.
Can you use a passport card for cruises?
Yes.
Okay.
It says on the back, valid for domestic air travel, international land and sea travel between the U.S., Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Bermuda. Not valid for international air travel.
Okay. All right. That might make it worth it to just have it and have it in your pocket. I'd probably still bring my passport, but just to have a card, easy access.
Yeah, and sometimes if you're traveling, if you need government issued photo ID to prove your age and you're in a foreign country, you could use a passport card. They'll often take a driver's license too, but I feel like a passport card might be a little bit more legit.
It's got your date of birth on it?
It does have your date of birth on it, but you don't sign it though, which is interesting.
I don't think that matters too much.
Well, if you don't sign your passport, it's not valid.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, this would be more if you lived on the border and you were commuting back and forth, to Canada or Mexico or something.
Right.
But I don't know. I got it because I like these documents and things. I think they're kind of fun. So
You got it because it was a checkbox and it was only $10.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. If it was like $100, I would not have done it.
Do you put a cover on your passport?
No, I just do the passport itself.
So same. I know a lot of people that like put their passport within a passport cover, and I was like, it's just making it so much bulkier.
No, I actually had a wallet that was like passport sized wallet. And so you could put your passport in one side of it and the other side was like credit cards and stuff. And that was kind of nice for a little while. But then it got to be a little bit unwieldy. But if you're going to carry a passport every day, it's kind of nice to have like one object that is your money and your passport, to not have to keep up with two objects.
Yeah, I mean, if you were carrying it all the time, you know, because I carry my license all the time. So that,
exactly.
Like, that makes sense. If you're going to carry your passport all the time, fine. Get a wallet that encompasses the passport. Did you put the passport in the wallet in such a way that it could be displayed without removing it, or was it just a pocket in the wallet that stored the passport?
It was just a pocket in the wallet. So like it wasn't, it's not like the wallet opened to show the picture page or anything like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
So it was just like in there, and then you'd have to take it out and show it if you wanted to show it. But I never needed to really do that. I just had to have it with me for, you know, reasons, because I was in a foreign country and blah, blah, blah.
Well, congratulations on your new fancy passport.
Thanks.
Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 134.
So we are recording after the crazy week for MMOs. As a reminder, we got Janthir Wilds for Guild Wars 2 on Tuesday. We got the Warframe story expansion on Wednesday. Spoiler alert, have not even touched it. I also heard, since I haven't touched it, we're not going to talk about it, but I did hear that it was actually really short. It was only like 30 to 40 minutes. Oh, so wow. I may go just try it and just experience it and then put it back down. But then, and we'll talk at length about it in a couple minutes, the World of Warcraft, the War Within expansion early access launched. I thought it was going to launch on Friday, but it actually launched Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and Chris and I were both right there at 6 p.m. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I did want to say just a few things about Guild Wars 2. Is that okay, Chris? Can I start with just a few minutes of Guild Wars 2?
I will allow it, although this is a WoW podcast from now until the next like month or two, but I guess we can sneak in some Guild Wars.
We stopped playing WoW so we could talk about WoW, so we could go back to playing WoW.
We truly did. Like just before we were recording, we were both questing in WoW, so we are WoW people right now.
I mean, I honestly, it's pretty close on what I'd rather be doing right now.
Well, this just shows our dedication to the listeners, that we are taking time out of our busy WoW schedule to talk about WoW on a podcast.
Exactly. But first, Guild Wars 2. I want to give a really early impression of Guild Wars 2. I have liked almost every expansion that Guild Wars 2 has ever published. I liked Heart of Thorns. I liked Path of Fire. I liked a lot of the Living Worlds. Icebrood was a little not as good, but I still played it. Like I still played it all the way to the end. Secrets of the End of Dragons, I played. Secrets of the Obscure, I really I got into quite a bit. At least the first two, kind of the first expansion, and then the first 3 month. And then I actually finished it. I went back and actually finished the story. I played Janthir Wilds the day it came out. I was there Tuesday after work and said, I'm going to boot this up and play it. And I quickly fell off of it. And I said, I don't know. I'm just not engaged with this. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then came back Wednesday, decided not to play Warframe, and then got a little further, got a little bit more engaged. But in general was just like, this isn't it. This is not doing it for me.
And this was before WoW. Like you hadn't tried any of the WoW stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, go back and listen to the last episode. I was really engaged with the WoW pre-patch, and I was really enjoying it, and like leveling characters and experiencing new classes and all of that. I'm in MMO mode right now. Like I'm in it. And I don't know, just this new expansion story is just not doing it for me. And that's I haven't quite placed why yet. This is just a really early impressions. But at the same time, early impressions from other people have been really, maybe not really positive, but have been positive. And that is really kind of throwing me off. And I don't know, am I just not a Guild Wars 2 player anymore? Am I enjoying WoW just so much more right now? Like, am I just in the wrong mode, the wrong mindset? Or is this expansion just poorly paced for me or something like that? So just really early impressions. I will probably put Guild Wars 2 down for a while the War Within spins up. And I'm okay with that because I guess the silver lining here is if Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds was also excellent, and you're going to find out in a second that the War Within we're having a decent time with, at least I'll say that that's a massive understatement, but we'll talk more about it. I'm glad that Janthir Wilds is maybe not great because it would have made the decision on what to play very hard. The fact that I have not engaged well with Janthir Wilds has made the decision on what to play very easy.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I was a little bit worried that you were going to be, split right a little bit more. But then on Tuesday and Wednesday, when you're like, yeah, this is fine. You were streaming it. I was watching a little bit of it. And yeah, it I don't know. It just wasn't. Yeah, it was a lot of talking and a lot of like running around, but like it didn't look like it was fun. I guess. Like, I don't know.
I like Guild Wars 2 for a lot of the talking and a lot of the characters. They have gotten away from some of the characters. Like, I think you were in the channel where, like, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but at least in the beginning of the expansion, like, we're introducing to everyone and, like, this big summit is going on. And I'm just like, where's Timey? Like, everyone loves Timey. Where's Timey? And so, like, when you talk about consistent cast of characters and people that you know and love, like, I like the talking and the politics of Guild Wars 2 and kind of that some of that story that's going on. So I enjoyed a lot of that, but a lot of it, like half of it was missing for me. And then the other side is the combat, right? So like anytime you're not sitting around talking or doing lore, like questing, you're in combat and you're kind of playing. And I will say the enemy types and the enemy attacks in this expansion are just not jiving with me. They are a certain flavor of what is happening. And if you know Guild Wars 2, there's a lot of boon corrupts. So anything that is like a positive stat on you, if you step in a puddle or step in something bad, it doesn't necessarily damage you. It corrupts your boons, which can cripple you or put a dot on you or whatever. And it takes away a positive a positive boon on you. So it's just not doing it for me. So both elements, both sides of the expansion, I'm not really grooving with. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if things need to be tuned or if I just need to come back at a later time or whatever. But I'm going to put it down. I don't I'm not writing Guild Wars 2 off, but I just think in general, I'm having way more fun with WoW right now. So we're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about WoW. We're going to talk about how much fun we're having in WoW. And Guild Wars 2 will be there when I'm ready to go back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advantage of something like Guild Wars that doesn't have a subscription where you can just, pick it up and put it down and it's just another game in your library and you can just, you're not feeling like you're missing out or that you're wasting money or that you're, whatever, because it'll still be there later when WoW is on a, season break or whatever.
I have done that repeatedly with Guild Wars 2 and this will just be another time for that. Yep.
I did not buy the expansion. I didn't buy Janthir Wilds. I usually do buy the Guild Wars expansions, at least at like the lowest level. But I knew I wasn't going to play it in the next, month. So I just let myself go and said, I'll just buy it whenever it makes sense, or I'll just skip this one and buy it when it's included in the next one. Because that may also be something I do. We'll see how things go.
Well, and that's kind of the nice thing here is like, I'm so far, I have not liked this expansion. Who knows? Maybe things will change, but in worst case scenario, the way Guild Wars 2 is running right now, they have an expansion every year, right? They're gonna release another one next August.
That's true.
We're almost sure of that, right? They haven't technically announced it yet, but they have kind of gone to this yearly release cadence and an every 3 month kind of minor release cadence. And if I don't end up liking this one, it's not like it's going to be 3 years to the next expansion. It's going to be 1 year. So for you, right? Like if based on my recommendation, you say, hey, I'm going to skip this one. You don't have to wait forever, or I don't have to wait forever for another one.
Right.
Anyway, if you think I'm doing something wrong, please let me know. But otherwise, let's talk about WoW, because I'd rather do that.
Okay. So the War Within came out on, like you said, Thursday, August 22nd. Yes. And I expected, so it was like a rolling launch, or not a rolling launch, but like a live launch, right? So 3 p.m. Pacific, so 6 p.m. Eastern, they said, yeah, this is going to go live. And so like, but then they said our server maintenance that they usually do, they're like, we're going to do a little server maintenance on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. or whatever, Eastern. And it was only scheduled to be for an hour. And usually before an expansion, the servers are like totally down for like half the day, and like it's a whole thing.
And that's totally what happened for pre-patch, right? Pre-patch, the servers were supposed to go down for like 5 hours. It was scheduled to go down for 5, and they ended up being down for like 20 hours.
Oof. Yeah.
And that's what we expect for a launch day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you expected that there's going to be a bunch of people logged in, and like, the login servers are going to die, and like, it's going to be a whole thing and an event. But in this case, it didn't seem to be too bad. I wasn't there right when the clock hit 6. I was there around 7:30. So like I figured I would have to sit in some login queue or something. And like, Jason was already going to be logged in, and I was going to be so far behind, and it was going to be a whole thing. But I got in no problem at 7:30.
No problem. I logged in at 6:01. Some friends of mine were already in and playing at, 5:55. They actually said that it went live a little bit early, a little before 6. And based on what I'm hearing, if you were already logged in at about 6 o'clock or whenever it actually launched, a quest just popped and said, hey, the next phase of the story, which I won't spoiler, something happened. Come check it out. And it just kind of popped up like while you were playing, which is just amazing. It's just, I mean, it's how it should happen. And everyone was already logged in. No one got booted out. The servers did not restart. Just at 6 o'clock when it launched, worldwide, everyone just got a little pop-up that said, go start the next quest.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad. I hope that they have learned something. Like, I don't know if they just over-provisioned all their servers, or, there's not enough people playing early access to make a difference, because they would know like how many people maximum, right, have purchased early access for this thing.
I'm very interested. I wonder if they will announce that or anything, like, because only people with the Epic Edition, and the Epic Edition was how much do you remember? $90, and just the expansion was 50 or 60,
40 or 50. Yeah.
40 or 50. Okay. So I mean, it was close to double the price, right? Or a little over double the price for, cosmetics. And then those couple of days of early access. I have some people telling me that they think a majority of people bought the Epic Edition with early access. I don't think that's true. I don't think personally don't think that's true. I think you and I and our friends tend to be a little bit more serious about WoW. We tend to I would not consider us casual WoW players. I would consider us kind of like mid casual, like, I don't know what you call that. Like,
yeah, not hardcore,
but like casual core. I don't know, whatever, in the middle. Like we want a heroic raid. We would love to dip our toes into mythic raiding. Like we're a little bit in the middle. And I think our friend group or the people that we hang out with or some of the guilds of some of our friends, they tend to be leaning more towards that hardcore side of things. So I think everyone that we know probably, or most of the people that we know, probably bought the Epic Edition. So I think there's a little bit of a selection bias here, but I think there's a large majority of World of Warcraft players that are very casual. I mean, so much content in the War Within is targeted, and I don't mean this in a bad way. So much is targeted as casuals, right? Delves, open world content, just how far you can get without grouping up now, like follower dungeons and things that you can do solo. The fact that you can run the raids solo now in story mode, like all of that is targeted at casuals that want to play a solo MMO. I don't think any of those people bought the Epic Edition. There was no reason for them to do that.
No. Absolutely not. I mean, the head start, I probably wouldn't have done it if it was a head start to Wednesday from Friday kind of a thing. But since it was over the weekend, I was super interested in it.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, the game comes out on Tuesday, and then the early access means that it came out on, Thursday instead of or Friday or whatever. But we have the whole weekend to play, and the weekend evenings and all of that. It's a much better arrangement of a release schedule than something where it's get early access on Tuesday for the thing that comes out on Thursday or Friday. It's no thanks.
I wouldn't have done that. I mean, I got it with the collector's edition statue that I got, but if I had to make that decision, I wouldn't have done weekday early access. The fact that we got a whole extra weekend, the fact that we are playing it right now as we, in between recording,
as we record, Jason.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it came out a weekend early is, or we got early access over a weekend. That was the big decision maker for me. I wonder now, with all that being said, you said, hey, I worried about queues. I wonder about how it's going to go. Or the server's going to be on fire. Do you think it's going to happen on Tuesday? Do you think there's going to be a login queue on Tuesday?
I think there might be. I think that it's possible that there might be some instability on Tuesday.
I'm expecting it.
I hope it doesn't. I hope they learn their lesson. I hope they can just be let's take all that money we got from the early access people and just spin up a bunch more servers, and over provision a little bit, and it just works. But I don't know, especially since they had all that trouble with the pre-patch.
I don't know. I mean, they could,
but maybe the pre-patch was the infrastructure upgrade. Maybe now everything is good and we're smooth sailing forever now.
Could be. I mean, when you get down to it, the number of players that they're dealing with now is not anywhere close to the number of players that used to play World of Warcraft.
Oh, well, that too.
So what happened?
Yeah.
The answer is it used to be a lot worse.
That's true. It used to be, I think it was it used to be an entire day that you wouldn't be able to play when something big happened. But now things are much, much smoother. At least if there were queues, you would know that you would probably get in that night. But
right.
It used to be that if there were queues, you'd just be this is never going to happen.
It's been really nice though. Let's just say that the launch has been, I think it could not have gone smoother. It could not have gone better. It was perfect. 10 out of 10 early access launch. I think it's been in beta long enough where all of our add-ons were good and working, except for maybe some of Chris's. But in general, everything has kind of gone smoothly. I think we had someone on channel the other day that was saying, hey, I want to reset, but can I restart and not be in a queue? And you were like, yeah, I just hopped in. There's no queue, there's no issue. Come, log out, log back in. When you have that massive queue and you have that stress about oh, I got in, I can't leave anymore, and you need to log out and log back in, that's really stressful.
Right.
So it's been really nice and a really smooth launch. I hope that when this episode comes out in a couple days, that remains true past the wider, not early access launch. I'm expecting queues. I'm okay with login queues. I think that's fine. I understand why that happens. A login queue is not a failure. A failure is the servers are down. No one can log in. Once you stay in queue and you get logged in, then you crash. That's a failure. And we've experienced nothing that points that direction.
Yeah. Good job, WoW team. Your infrastructure people are on point right now. This episode comes out on Thursday after the Tuesday launch, so we might be totally wrong by the time that happens.
Okay, so that was the launch. How are you, Chris, enjoying the actual game?
I am enjoying the game a lot. I always kind of have a good experience with the story of a new expansion, but I think this one is better than usual. I think something about it, the main story quest, something about the faction, something about something. We can talk about all these different facets of this whole thing. It feels good. It's fun. It feels rewarding. The progression is decent, although we might talk about that a little bit. It's good. I like it.
I'm so happy that you feel that way. Because you've got experience with past expansions and you can kind of compare. I really only have one expansion that I can compare to, and that's Dragonflight. And I would say I am much more engaged early with the story of this expansion than I am with just the game mechanics. You know, with Dragonflight, I came in a little late. I did the story. I really didn't know what was going on, but I chalked that up to I don't know WoW's story. Like I can't engage with it because I don't know enough.
The history.
You know, I was constantly saying during Dragonflight, who are these people? Why are they important? Why are they here? How do they fit into the larger story? And I chalked that up for it to be my fault, right? Like I was like, oh, I'm not engaged with the story. Fine. I'll engage with the mechanics, the Mythic Plus, the rating, like just the mechanics of the game rather than the story. Mm-hmm. And I am now learning that no, it was not my fault. It was the writing and the storytelling, which was it wasn't terrible in Dragonflight. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't great. And I think that this expansion has done a great job with its story so far. I don't know who everyone is. A small spoiler alert, Khadgar's involved with this story. Who would have thought? Apparently Khadgar's a really big deal. Apparently he's a really big part of the WoW lore and story. I didn't really know that. I have no context for that. But it didn't matter. Like it built him up enough. It introduced him in such a way that was personal, but also reverent. And that happened within the story itself, such that I had an emotional connection with Khadgar, even though I didn't have a history with him. Mm-hmm. And that has made that one example is true for everything that has happened in this expansion so far. And that has been really refreshing to someone who is relatively new to World of Warcraft, but also just experiencing a story in general. I feel like I've actually connected with the characters in the story in the way that I absolutely did not in Dragonflight.
Yeah, I think it helps also that I was worried that this would be a redo of Battle for Azeroth, which was a good expansion. Don't get me wrong. But like they started talking about all this stuff with the World Soul Saga. You know, that's the next 3 WoW expansions are in the World Soul Saga, whatever that means. And I was worried that they were going to go a little too heady, you know, to the fate of Azeroth, you know, hangs in the balance and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not getting huge vibes of the grand epic. I'm getting much more like small, like character interactions. And yeah, the stakes are high and, you know, there's big bads and all that kind of stuff for sure. But like, it's not, I don't know. It's not like you have to do this or else the whole world is going to end. It's like, you have to do this because these people are counting on you. And like, that is a different, I mean, that's, I don't know. I guess always the people are counting on you if the world is going to end, but like, it doesn't feel personal in that case. It feels very kind of like rote and you're like, yeah, okay, fine. Save the world again. Got it. But this, it's better.
They've taken the World Soul Saga and they've told us the not hundreds, but they've told us the micro stories that are happening because of it. Right. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that Xal'atath is a main villain in this the purple story. The purple lady, not Sylvanas, but the other purple lady.
Right.
But she's a main villain in this, at least so far or whatever. Like, she's clearly got something planned. I mean, you could tell from the trailers and all of that. Like, she's clearly puppeting and masterminding and crafting and scheming and blah, blah, blah. But like that so far has not interfered with the storytelling of the individual people that she's impacting. And the story, at least the main story quest for The War Within, has been very focused on the individual groups of people or the individual people that she has impacted and how we as the player are helping those groups of people. So I suspect that the story will open up and become broader. But this is the way that you introduce someone to a story, right? You say, hey, here are all the little things, meet all these characters, understand who they are, understand their struggles, I hate to do this, but if you talk about it from like the Stormlight Archive, Brandon Sanderson perspective, right?
Here we go.
The first book is super boring in terms of like the grand things that are happening on Roshar and in the Stormlight Archives, right? You're introducing characters, you're introducing their struggles, you're introducing their backstory. But in the grand scheme of the novel or the whole series of books, and in this case, the World of Warcraft World Soul Saga, which is 3 expansions, you start very small and you slowly introduce more and more drama or scheming or whatever. Now that you've introduced characters, and they have done that perfectly. At least they've done the first step of that perfectly.
The first step. Yeah. I mean, there's still plenty of room for, crashing and burning in this. Like, don't let us, make you think that WoW is fixed now and it's a great game. 'Cause it is, but also that could be lost in a minute. So like in an instant. So like they're doing well right now. And this happens in WoW, right? There's ups and downs and good expansions and bad expansions. They get too wrapped around the axle on systems and stuff and like currencies and stuff. And I think right now everything feels new, and I haven't really dived into like any of the like reward systems and stuff, but they're on the right track, especially because they've opened up warbands. So all of your stuff is account wide, which feels really good. That all is just, it's going in the right direction. And as we've said many times, it does feel like it respects the time that you put into the game. So I'm feeling really good about that also, in addition to this whole story aspect of it.
I agree. I don't want to move on from the story yet, though, because I have things to say about it in terms of like some of the individual moments of it. I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything like that, but like there's 3 things that have stood out to me in terms of the story, and I wonder if you agree. The first is and in Dragonflight, this is again maybe a minor spoiler, but like in Dragonflight, you're constantly chasing these oath stones, right? And activating the oath stones. And every time you go to a different zone, you're activating the oath stone for that zone and blah, blah, blah. In this, they don't do that. And I say that in a way that 2 of the things are true out of that. First, you're not chasing these MacGuffins. You're not chasing these oath stones all around the world. You're kind of like progressing from strife to strife. Yeah. If that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes the transition's a little jarring. I would say for me, like, oh, so-and-so's looking for you. And I was like, okay, I can see how that's true in like the real world, but you haven't really connected why you're telling me that this other person is looking for me. But fine, whatever. Like that's how the real world works. Someone is looking for you and you go talk to them and you figure out what they want. And in the War Within expansion or quest line, it just happens to be that they want you to go to the next zone, right? Like that's just kind of how it works. And it's okay, but they're not like saying, oh my gosh, there's a really shiny metal rock down there that I absolutely need you to go get for some reason. Like they're not doing that. But at the same time, because you're progressing from zone to zone based on people and not based on things, the cast of characters from zone to zone maybe isn't exactly the same, but you do follow a core set of people with you through the whole expansion, unlike Dragonflight, where like most of the cast was changing from zone to zone. And I think that does a lot for character development. It does a lot for knowing who the heck is talking or what they're talking about, knowing how they fit into the larger story. It makes it a much more cohesive story in terms of like who's around you and who's in your party and who the story is about. Again, sticking with the topic of this is a very so there's this huge thing going on, but it's a very grounded story and a core set of people. And that has been really nice.
Yeah, I like that framing of it with the core set of people, because you feel like you are part of that team and that team is doing this stuff and so are you, as opposed to you are the savior of the world and you have to go do this stuff to help all these different disparate factions, and while your friends essentially sit in the little council room and occasionally have cutscene conversations. Like
yeah.
You feel like you're all part of the team. You and the NPCs are all part of the team, and that that feels good.
I don't know, maybe you can help me here, but I felt like there were a lot of quests where someone was following me around. Did you feel that happened more than in previous expansions, where like at least one person was essentially following you and fighting by your side?
They've done that a couple of times before, I think, with different followers and different things. It didn't feel unusual to me. Like it felt kind of WoW tropey. Like it wasn't novel, I guess. I didn't think, but I think that the idea of like, and that's the idea of having someone, but having your particular friends follow you around is maybe a little bit novel, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like Anduin was following me around or involved with me in a quest more than once. It was a number of times throughout the story.
Yeah, that's unusual. I mean, usually you get like a zone companion, you'll get the, oh, I'm so-and-so from the Maruk Centaur and I need to like, prove my worth to my tribe or whatever, and so like they'll chase you around while you do quests and stuff. That happens kind of all the time. I don't remember if that actually happened in Dragonflight, but like whatever.
Sounds like it would.
Yeah, it sounds like it could have, right? And so it's different because you care about the characters that you're hanging out with.
Yep.
Like that's the difference.
Yep.
I don't know if they can keep that going through 3 seasons and 3 more expansions with 3 seasons each or whatever. I don't know if this level can stay, but I hope so.
I hope so, because I mean, there were, and this is kind of the last point I wanted to bring up. There were a couple of cutscenes in this expansion so far where I was really invested, like goosebumps, right? Like chills running up my body on what was happening and whatnot. And all of them were because of some character development of some sort. All of them were based around dialogue or something that someone was saying or something that someone did. Like I said out loud during one part, I'm so proud of them. Right? Like, can you imagine that kind of feeling in a WoW expansion? I mean, I certainly can't, but I can and this is why I used to be into Guild Wars, right? I can imagine that because there was a core set of people in Guild Wars, you started to get really attached to them. I can imagine that feeling for a story like the Stormlight Archives, a novel series, and how close you get with those characters. And I did feel that in certain cutscenes, in certain instances in the War Within main story questline. So that is it's so nice to be able to like have chills run up your body because of a story, right? Like that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's also helped by, and they've been doing this for a few expansions now, but I feel like they've done it even more in this one. The in-engine or in-engine-like cutscenes where they have a little bit lower production value than the like super CGI rendered, full motion video cutscenes. But they are able to do things like put your character model into stuff. And like, I mean, Guild Wars has done this forever, but it gives you the like cutscene experience, and they are voice acted and captioned and all of that stuff. It gives you that cutscene experience, but I think it's probably easier for them to do, like for them to execute. And so they can do more of them for the same budget or the same time or the same, resources essentially. So they get these kind of story beats that are more impactful because they can put more effort into them because they're telling the story in a different way, because they're using like in-engine, videos essentially instead of full CGI stuff.
Yeah, I remember the Battle for Azeroth like opening sequence, which was so cool. It was so cool. It was a great CGI, like super detailed opening video. But it didn't have to do with me or my character or my story or the story that I was, that I was a part of. It was so grand and so large. It was very, very cool, but it wasn't focused. Like that was one of those like Michael Bay moments where you're like, yeah, that's amazing. That's so cool. But that's not emotional, right? That doesn't impact you in a way that you're going to get chills. So yeah, I agree. I like the way they're doing it. And I do like how you said that they are in engine, but they seem in some way maybe to be upgraded. Clearly the animation or like the rigging of the models is better. because how they do like Xalatath moving and how she floats around and how detailed her facial expressions are and all of that like is really, really good. But it's clearly still her model from the game. Like it's probably an upgraded model, but it's not, it doesn't look different.
Right. So it's very plausible, that these are the same characters that your character is playing with in the engine rendered by your graphics card instead of their render farm.
Right.
Although they did do a full CGI video for this expansion. Remember the announcement trailer and all that stuff where they had Anduin and Thrall out in the desert, and that was all super hyper realistic.
Yeah, but that was like a teaser.
Yeah, okay.
And it didn't feed into this story at all. Like it did. It was like an intro, but that was really nice, but that wasn't part of this quest line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I just, they have really done a good job with the storytelling aspect of this. And I don't know how much of that is because Chris Metzen is back. I don't know kind of what the, internal politics of Blizzard are and all that stuff. But I like what I'm seeing.
The last thing that maybe is not directly with story related, but maybe graphics related, these environments are stunning. There were at least 2 instances as you're progressing from place to place where I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like the way that I'm walking in and seeing this world open up. There were at least 2 instances where I was very, very impressed with the world that I was in. And let me tell you, and Chris can vouch for this, for me to say that about WoW on how, like with the context of how much I used to hate the cartoony graphics of WoW.
Yep.
For me to be so impressed with the environment and the world from a visual standpoint, that is saying a lot coming from me.
Yeah, no, that is high praise. Because we have had many, many conversations, and some on this podcast, about the graphical style of WoW versus the graphical style of Guild Wars versus, other AAA games and stuff. And it always comes down with, oh, WoW looks like it's 20 years old, because it is. But they have done a lot of work on that engine. Like they really have. And now it's more of an art style choice, I think, than an engine limitation. And that shows.
I wish I could talk about the specific moments, and maybe we'll do a spoiler episode or segment sometime in the future. But there were certain moments where they couldn't have done it any better, and it was just so cool, and it was very impressive. So I'm very happy with the environments of this expansion too. I was really worried for a while. There's some areas where you go below ground, right?
Yes.
I don't think that's too much to give away, but there's some moments where you're going below the ground, and I really didn't enjoy the below ground area in Dragonflight.
Right, me either. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was really
the
dull
caves,
and really bad. And I will just say, I don't know if they took feedback from that and changed the way they did this or whatever, but I do not mind being below ground. Almost prefer it in some cases in this expansion.
Yeah, it just feels so much better. Like it feels I think the ceilings are a little higher. I think that the zone is a little more spread out. Like they were able to do more with the underground stuff than they did in Dragonflight by a ton. I was also very concerned about that because I did not like it. And they were like, oh yeah, it's the War Within, which means within Azeroth, which means underground. We're like, oh no, here we go.
Yeah, oh no. That was my thought as well, yeah.
And so fortunately, they seem to have done an excellent job. They've got a lot of good ways to do lighting sources. They've got a lot of good ways to do like ambiance, like in the different zones underground to make them feel different from each other, which is also good. And they're not just like shoehorning it in, which is another big piece. Cause I think that was the piece, is that they had the underground stuff in Dragonflight, but it was kind of just like an afterthought in one of the, content patches and stuff, which is fine. But like they were trying to cram everything into one relatively small zone. I mean, it was big cause you could fly in it, but like it wasn't that big. And now these feel like they're probably 5 times the size of that one in Dragonflight.
Yeah. It felt cramped in Dragonflight.
Yep. So yeah, I like that. And then the above ground part is also beautiful. Like it looks really good. It kind of gives me vibes from the one good zone in Shadowlands, the one with the it was like the Greek looking one, like the one that was kind of like,
oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about, but I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I forget the name, but the one good one.
Yeah.
And so it just the above ground, it's just like Dwarven City, and it's so cool. I really like the lived in feel of the dwarf communities, not just the big city, but also the little towns. Like you can go into the inn, and because they're dwarves, right? You go in the inn, there's like a, you know, I don't know, food and beverage kind of drinking hall kind of place there. And then you go back further and it's an inn underground. It's like, and it has like little rooms and stuff out there that are all very like, you can kind of poke around, and they're like very lived in. I really like this whole environment design, and I think it's really clever. And I've been very happy with the Dwarven kind of world so far.
Chris, we've been talking about the release, the actual like release of it. We've been talking about the story and some of the world building, but let's talk about some of the actual like mechanics, the metagame.
Okay. Yeah.
There are two kind of elements that we have listed down to talk about. One is just this early access timing, and what is there's so many videos on YouTube and so many like articles and posts on like what can and can't you do in early access. Have you felt like it's been enough? Do you feel like it's restricted or not enough, or I don't know, like how do you feel about like what you can and can't do in early access, and how is it impacting you?
I think it's enough from a purely like, I can't fault them for giving me what they gave me kind of a thing. But at the same time, I wish there was a little bit more, which is probably a good sign, right? You want, leave them wanting more kind of a thing, right? But I do wish that I could keep going, right? And that's really where it comes down to. But it's very confusing also, kind of what is and isn't kind of in play here in the early access 3-day period here.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, again, like a lot of people are a lot of content creators are talking a lot about what you can and can't do, because it's been confusing. It's been like what is limited and what is not. I think the biggest thing for me so far, or at least the most apparent limitation for me so far, has been the delves. Delves are kind of cool. They're new, whatever. And right now in early access, we are limited to level 3 or tier 3 of the delves. And that's not a big deal. Like, fine, whatever. Like, I haven't experienced them all yet, but every time you do a tier, you unlock the next tier. But right now we're locked to tier 3. And I think that's too low. I don't know. We do it like you and I do a tier 3 delve, and it's too easy.
Well, I wonder if there would be a middle ground, and I don't know what we would think about it. The reason that they have these things is to not make it super unfair for the people who buy early access in terms of playing and power leveling and whatever against people that are going to get access on Tuesday. So I get it from a game balance standpoint, because if you were like, oh, well, you can just, if you buy early access, you can pay to win, and you can, get up to max level and do all of the stuff and whatever. And they do this with the game itself, where they time gate, access to raids, and they do the LFR wings and all that kind of stuff. They've always sort of done that from a kind of balance perspective. I just think here, what if they had done something where you could go harder, but it was less reward, or like the reward was only gold and not gear or something, like, or just rep, or I don't know what they could have done, but something where it wouldn't mess up your power level, but you would be able to take on a harder challenge of gameplay if you wanted to.
I would be all for, and I think they could do it really easily, and not even, they would just say, hey, you can do level 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up, but rewards are capped at level 3.
Right. Yeah.
Go
sure.
Experience what a level 10 delve is. Go ahead. You're not going to like it, but go ahead.
Yeah, you can't get the gear to be able to manage that level. But
yeah,
whatever.
You won't have the gear that's enough. But go ahead and, I mean, if you can beat a level 9, try to go for a level 10. Because remember, you have to do the tier before to unlock the next tier. So like, I would have been totally fine with them to say, hey, go as high as you can. Rewards are capped at level 3. And what that would have done for me probably is, okay, I would have tried a level 4. I'd have tried a level 5. I said, this is getting a little tough. I would try a level 6. I'd probably fail once. And I'd say, okay, well, right now, based on the gear I have, I could do level 6s. And then I'd go back to level 3 for the rest of the early access.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it is just about getting enough gear and leveling up to as high as you can get, and maybe doing a couple of characters. And I would say, hey, I've unlocked tier 6, but there's no reason for me to do it. It's slower. It slows me down. It's difficult. I like that I could have experienced it. I found what delves are going to be like. But you know, I'm just going to stick at level 3 for now. I'm choosing to stick at level 3 because rewards are capped at level 3 instead of I can't do content that is harder.
Yeah, but I feel like that might feel also kind of like a waste if you couldn't get rewards that would be higher, because you'd say like, oh, I'll just stick to level 3. But yeah, it would be nice to unlock them, I guess. That's why I was saying like if you could get gold or something, like something, gold obviously has value, but it's not progression-y value, if that makes sense. Sure, you can buy more potions on the auction house, but like that, you probably already have enough gold to do that anyway if you care. So I'm not sure that would have totally broken the economy or anything, and that would give you some kind of a reason to kind of push harder, I think. I don't know.
It's a small reason. It's a small nudge. Yeah.
And here we are splitting hairs over 3 days. Like this expansion is going to be out for like 2 years. So it really doesn't matter. Like this is all a little bit kind of a moot point, but like, you know, it's the gamer thing, right? You gotta complain about something. Yeah.
And if that's what we're complaining about, that's a pretty good, big success. The other thing that's kind of a mechanical thing that is, maybe not significantly different, but pretty different, is that the main quest line, as good as it is, only gets you to about level 76 when max level is level 80. I personally have been struggling with that a little bit, but at the same time, I appreciate that they made the requirement, right? They only put what was in the main story quest, what was truly relevant to the main story quest, theoretically. I think there was still a little bit of wandering off the path a little bit, but for the most part, most of the story or most of the quests within the main quest line, you know, they were blockbuster, right? They either had like some kind of special mechanic, or you flew around and like had some like siege equipment, or there was a cutscene involved, and like a large majority of quests in the main quest line were I'll call it higher production quests. Because they stripped everything else out. But because they stripped everything else out, you only got to level 76. I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling to get to 80. I'm like that because there isn't a directed path all the way to max level. I'm having to work on it a little bit and get through it, and I get very distracted, and maybe it doesn't go as fast as it could. So I don't know how I feel about this. I get it on both sides, but I don't know that I've made a determination yet. You seemed to struggle less with this, though. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that is accurate, but I also have a different play style than you, I think, in some of this, because I pick up quests other than the ones that are the main quests, and I think you were kind of like only doing the main quest.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
Like, I don't mind having some quests in my quest log, and they just kind of sit there and they, you know, okay, fine, I'll get to them when I get to them kind of a thing. Whereas you are like a serial, like keep the quest log clean kind of person, which is fine. That's just a different style. But I think that I kind of picked up a lot of the like, oh, go out to this place kind of quests, right? And then if I happen to be flying by one of those places, it's like, oh, cool, I have the quest, the little 2 gold, you know, 10 XP quest or whatever that says, you know, go to this place and talk to this person. And that kicks off the rest of the quest line. And I would take a couple of those and I just did them like while I was in the area kind of a thing. And then I would move on with the storyline. Whereas I think you were going like story to story to story to story. So I think we had a different approach there. Yeah,
we did. We absolutely did. And I think maybe for my next character, I will do it differently. But I do struggle with quests just kind of hanging out in my quest log, littering my map, littering my quest log. But I think there is, like, the way they've organized side quests is the main story takes you from place to place to place, and each place you go has a couple of side quests. So I think I can probably focus a little bit more, or I can choose to take a couple of side quests every place I go. But if I don't finish them or I don't want to finish them, I can still maintain. I'll just abandon them, move on to the next place, take a couple of side quests at the next place. If I don't finish them, I abandon and move on. But like, I'm going to abandon those quests. I will come back to them later. I don't like them hanging out in my quest log.
You mentioned cluttering your map. Do you turn off the thing that they just added now where it shows you all the little exclamation points for all of the quests?
No, I keep that on.
Because there's like 100 little exclamation marks on every one of the new zones for all of the little quest starts.
I'm okay with the notification that there's a quest that I can pick up. I don't like the... like every time I'm flying over somewhere, I don't like the, it's the same thing. I don't like notifications on my phone. I do not like when I'm flying over somewhere to say, oh, there's a quest you should be doing down there. I want to go from place to place and very like poignantly say, I'm doing these quests. If I don't do them, I'm abandoning them and moving on.
Yeah, I've learned a little bit of that from you. So like I am much quicker to abandon quests now than I think I ever have been. But my strategy in the early expansion kind of world that we're in right now for War Within is to pick up quests, let them sit in my quest log. You can untrack them, I guess, if it bothers you, but I just ignore that side of my screen mostly. And then like just understand that I'm going to have a lot of quests for a while. And then once I kind of get into more steady state, like, oh, I'm just logging in to do some dungeons, or I'm just logging in to do a raid or whatever, then I will drop all of the, like, I don't know, human interest quests.
Here's the other side of it, though, for me is quests in World of Warcraft, particularly after your max level, are story, right? And
correct. Yes.
I don't like how... if you do that, right, if you keep it in your quest log, if you don't read the quest text, go do the quest, turn it in, get the next quest. Like it's not a cohesive story anymore, particularly because you have so many other stories going on. And that I think is why I'm so aggressive about abandoning something, because I'm saying, okay, I'll come back to this story later. Like I'm clearly not, I don't want to just keep it in there because at that point it becomes a task and not a story.
Yeah. Okay. That's a different approach for sure. I don't know. I think there's valid reasons to do both, but I think that right now when everything is a story and I am more likely to kind of go down the rabbit hole on a particular quest line, I don't mind having a bunch of stuff in my quest log as I go. Like I when I was doing the story, I did a couple of side quest lines to completion while I was in the middle of the main big story because I was in that area. And that helped me kind of power level a little bit.
I think that's what I'll do. I think that what I'm saying is, like, when I go to an area, I'm going to follow a side quest line all the way to completion before I move on to the next area. But anything I don't complete, I'll abandon. Right. I'm not saying like I won't do any side quests or I'll only do one. I think I'll follow that kind of branching path, follow it to the end, and then come back to whatever the last main quest place I was at. Because then the story is still kind of cohesive. And one of the first areas you go, it's about a graveyard or like a, like a healing area. And you said there's some really good branching side quests, but you kind of centralize in that town. I chose to not follow any of those branches. The next time I do this, I think because, I was a little frustrated that I was only 76 at the end, I will choose to follow some of those branches as I'm doing my next character. Yeah.
I think I was about 79 and a third when I finished the campaign.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah, I just had to pick up a couple of, side quests and whatever, and then that got me to 80. So
I was 76 and a quarter. I was far.
Wow.
Yeah, I was still like 3 hours away, at least.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's all just, live and learn. And it should go faster on a second character, right? Like there's some advantages.
Yep, because you get all those bonuses and you can go in any order you want, and everything scales to your level as you're going, kind of like in Chromie time. Yes, the second one should go faster.
So last time we talked about this, I think we were saying like you hadn't decided yet what you were going to level with and all of that. I was going to use a Frost Mage and I did, but what did you end up choosing?
I took the easy route. Which I'm a little disappointed in myself for doing, but I did go back to my Demon Hunter just because it's what I know. I don't know that I'm super happy with my choice, but it's clearly my main. It's clearly my primary character. So that's what I did. I am committed, though, in my own mind, at least, to doing a warlock, a demonology warlock, as a DPS. So leveling that to 80. And I would like to, by the end of the, as a side note, because it's only early access, the pre-patch event is actually still out. So you can still go do the pre-patch event. I'm hoping it's populated enough that people are actually still doing it. But I want to level a shaman. And I think I want to get a shaman to 80 as well. So that would be my tank, which Demon Hunter for now. A demonology warlock would be my DPS, and I'm gonna try shaman healing. So those are the three that I'm gonna try to get to 80.
Nice. I have my mage is 80 now. I haven't touched any other characters yet, but my next one I think is going to be a druid. I have a druid at 70, so it'll be easy to kind of jump in and get it to 80. And the druid will let me do anything, right? But mostly I want it because I like to tank. I like the bear tank kind of kit, even though I know it's super boring. But that's just me. And then from there, I want to do a healer. I want something to be a healer. I don't know what healer to be. I have kind of waiting in the wings. I have a priest, a monk, a paladin, and a shaman available. But I think I might go with the priest because it's a caster, I'm thinking, but I don't know.
Okay.
But I've never healed anything ever, so that will be an adventure when I get there.
I have healed on an evoker, and I was not very good at it, so I'm going to have to practice. Okay, well, all that to say, War Within, good so far. Can't wait for more.
Yeah.
We do get a little bit more on Tuesday. I think with the full release, some of the delves open up, some of the reputation opens up. Maybe we get a weekly reset, which opens up a lot of profession knowledge. It opens up heroic dungeons, maybe, because that's actually a progression based thing. Right now, we only have normal dungeons. I think that's true that we get those on Tuesday, which is Tuesday before this episode comes out. So we'll already have them. But we actually don't get season 1. So no mythic rating, no mythic dungeoning, none of that until September 10th. And I'm pumped. I'm ready.
Yeah, this is a really nice preparation time. They always do this where they have a couple weeks of get ready. But then this is good to be able to get all those alts, up and ready and then start making some choices. We also, don't forget, have hard heroic mode now, right? Heroic is difficult.
It's hard.
Even though heroic is coming out next week and is but you don't get mythic, it's still going to be good. So I think that's something to look forward to.
Oh no. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for some challenging content, not mythic level, not mythic rating or dungeoning, but challenging content. I'm ready. I'm ready to have to hit my defensive key. I rarely have to do that right now.
Fair.
Okay, well, we got to go back and play more WoW. So, let us know if you're playing, or if you're playing Guild Wars 2, and maybe you have some suggestions for me on why I'm not liking it. But anyway, we'll see you in game. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can join our Discord by going to discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find any of our show notes or older episodes, take a look at those. You can visit our website at pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying the show, we would love if you could share it with some others that might enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Did you see the Discord quest for World of Warcraft?
I thought that was kind of cool.
I thought it was very cool. So if you don't know what we're talking about, there was a quest thing that popped up when you started streaming World of Warcraft this week. They wanted you to stream 15 minutes of WoW to a channel with people in it, and then they would give you a battle pet or something, some little cosmetic-y thing.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever. I think I've seen that before with some other games. Maybe it was Fortnite or something. But I don't know. I would have done that anyway. I would have gotten that quest without even trying. But I think that's a really good way for them. They are leaning into get your friends back in, come back to WoW so hard. And I think this is just another element of that marketing campaign. And I think it's well done. It's well placed. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I got it pretty quickly, but it scratched the itch of like the like idle game almost, right? Because you could see the little bar going in real time because it was only 15 minutes. So it was a percentage bar of 15 minutes, which goes once every several seconds, like goes up a percent. Fast. So I think every 9 seconds, if you want to be precise. I think they could have done it for longer. I think I would love to do this for other games for something that's like less consequential. Like, I don't know, like maybe it would be like stream WoW and like get 10 gold per hour or something, you know, something super token, but like would be a cool incentive to kind of keep your stream button on, basically, in channels with friends, right? This isn't like streaming to Twitch. This is streaming to Discord.
Yeah, private streaming.
I thought that was a really cool way to kind of do a promotion and give you something in game for it. So
I liked it. I would do that again. We'll see. I don't know if it needs to be a constant all the time thing, like gold per hour, but because that, oh man, jeez, would people min-max the crap out of that? But like,
no, that's why you'd make it like nothing. You make it like really, really low. Like,
sure, but you got a bot farm and people just stream to each other and all sit in a Discord together. Like I think it would get out of control pretty fast. But I'm okay with these. Like, it would be nice if like once a week they did something. Hey, stream for 15 minutes to your friends this week, or something like that. Just to kind of keep the conversation alive, right? That's what they should be trying to do,
right.
Is, you know, stream something every week to your friends. And the best part about it is that it worked flawlessly, and I really liked that. Like, all I had to do was say, yes, accept the quest in Discord, and then I just streamed like I always would. I didn't have to do anything special. I didn't have to Discord already knew I was playing World of Warcraft. Like, I just had to go live and it started counting. And I thought that was really cool.